Chapter 11. From Their Own. Andou's fist met the chin of the last escalator girl, knocking her out. She fell down with the rest of her teammates, some dazed, others awake but too hurt to move. "Change of plans," said Andou through panting breaths. "Looks like they have a lot of equipment on them," said Marseille, panting as well. "We're going to use their equipment on them to besiege one of the initial targets. You take these girls back to our side of the ship, in the meantime," decided Andou. "Which side should we hit?" "Both are important to knock out," pointed Marseille. "I'll take my crews to get the tanks. You heard them. The plan is to roll tanks through a barricade, so that's the priority. They're only using demoralization rounds in their artillery. Hopefully they don't up the ante after this," prayed Andou. "I hope so too," replied Marseille. The girls split up, Andou taking her team and the other girls securing the escalator class and beginning the long haul back to their side of the ship. "Andou, what will they do to the escalator students?" asked Fontaine. "I don't know, but we can't just let them go, can we? They might return to their superiors and set up an ambush. Not to mention, tell them where we are and that we know of this route. I heard they wanted to use this as an attack vector from an anonymous source," explained Andou. "We managed to get some good stuff off those girls. Flashbangs, CS gas canisters, and shells, signaling flares, and, look at this. Even a portable mortar setup," said one of the girls in the squad. "Right," nodded Andou as she poked her head out from the cover by which the escalator girls had entered. It seemed empty on this side of the service tunnel. Andou looked down and motioned for the others to follow as she climbed up and into the halls of the escalator side of the ship. It was a bright white in there, unlike the dull cement color of the examination service tunnels. Quiet music played over the loudspeakers above them. Andou checked for any cameras but saw none. She turned and again motioned for the girls to move up as they applied their masks for the night's raid. They moved quietly through the halls until at last reaching the door which took them out onto the empty Parisian streets. "All right, we exit here and run to the alley. That should take us to the rear of the tank sheds." Andou opened the door quietly and poked her head out again to make sure that the coast was clear. "Go, go, go," she whispered as the line of examination students ran across the street. The group reached the alley and continued until at last they reached a locked gate between the two buildings. "This is it, the rear entrance," stated the girl holding the map. "Everyone have their gear?" asked one of the girls. When no one declined, they listened to Andou's directions. "All right, we get in quiet. I want everyone in position before we bang out. You three, on the starboard side of the facility. You, port side. Fontaine and I will go up top and take you two as well. The rest of you, look for a position to set up the mortar launcher and hit them with CS gas if we need to. Only if we need to. First things first, bang in clear, then we assess the situation. You will secure the occupants, make sure everyone gets out, and you will set up the thermite on the tank treads. The two on port side initiate when we're all in place," explained Andou, motioning to each girl with her direction. "Now, let's get in there." Two girls pushed forward with a pair of bolt cutters and cut the lock off of the gate, and the group moved in. Fontaine and Andou moved up the ladder to take them above the tank shed. From there, Andou peeked into the rooftop window of the shed. There were a few girls loading the tank with munitions, and others were moving equipment for the tanks around the shed. Andou looked to the port side girl and gave a thumbs up as she spotted them pull the pin of a flashbang and throw it. The burst of noise rang hard in the cavernous structure of the tank shed, causing even those on top to cover their ears. The girls inside all fell to the ground within moments of the concussive blast hitting their ears. The other girls in the yard in front of the shed were greeted by flashbangs as well. The girls on the starboard side of the ship, some from the fire team, ran forward and secured the incapacitated girls on both sides of the yard and the shed. The ones in the yard were bound so they could not escape, while those from inside the shed were too dizzy from the concussive blast to even stand on their own. Andou and her team moved to the shed and checked out the tank interiors to ensure that everyone was out. "Anyone inside?" called out Fontaine. "They won't be able to hear you. That 7-bang was so loud they won't be hearing anything for a while," said Andou to her friend. Andou and Fontaine ensured that there were no stragglers before going out to talk to some of the girls in the yard, while the demolition crew moved in. "Are there any more of you inside?" asked Andou. The girl shook her head but didn't answer. Andou tapped her face, to which the girl spat. "Why should I tell you?" Because those tanks are going to the scrap heap, said Andou, to which the girl's eyes shot straight to Andou. No, you can't. We spent so long on those. Please, don't do this, cried the girl. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to use those tanks on us in the plaza, said Andou almost mockingly. Please, begged one of the other girls. We're just first years. We were just following orders. Following orders? Said Andou, walking to the girl. Following orders? Driving tanks into a protest, hammering our side of the ship with artillery? That is just following orders? The girls said nothing, even as Andou got into their face. Let's teach them a lesson, said Andou to the others. They walked back to the tank shed and picked up tools from around the shop. Sledgehammers, pipe wrenches, crow's feet, whatever they could find. And with them, they began tearing apart the tanks as best as they could by hand, destroying the barrels, wrecking the treads, pouring water in the engine and transmission fillers, and smashing in whatever could be easily accessed by a hatch or a door. The escalators, who could tell what was going on around them, wept, and as Fontaine watched, she felt the pain of what it must be like to see her own hard work destroyed in front of her. She looked back to the tanks that were now beyond operation, and as some of the students began pouring the thermite onto the treads, she felt a small pain in her gut. Andou walked back with a destroyed tire iron and tossed it down by the girls who had been caught. That'll make you think twice about blindly following orders. The sound of sirens suddenly filled the streets as 2 APC rolled into the depot, the first slamming into the front gate of the tank shed and the second following shortly after. Gendarmes! Cried one of the examination side girls. Andou! Give up now! Yelled Oshida into a megaphone as she stopped out from the APC.